the second video in our video series. In the first video, we did a real simple setup of a model class to record a volunteer. And in it, we had the first name, last name, birthday. We uploaded the ability to have a photo or a file of a photo in the model, and we did some validation on their phone number. So in this video, what we want to look at is, if everyone's got a photo that they want to upload, it's quite possible that the photos are named the same thing. And the other thing is, if we want to think about having an architecture where maybe multiple machines might be able to connect, it would be problematic to keep the photo on one machine. So we need to upload it to basically whatever server is hosting the application. So the goal of this video, again, is basically take the photo, create a copy of that file on our local server, but to also give it a unique name. So to do that, I'm going to go back into NetBeans here. And I'm in the volunteer, the models volunteer class. So in here, I'm going to need, if I look at our set image file right now, what it does is it sets, it receives a file, but it's not the actual file. It's creating a link to the file wherever that file currently resides. And what we really want to do is we want to copy it to this server. So there's really a description of our method and also the whole goal of this particular video. And because we don't want to overwrite our default image, we'll just use, we'll basically instantiate our image file first, okay? And then we can pass this in. Otherwise, I'm afraid we might be accidentally overwriting this. We don't want to create many instances of the same image. And I'm not sure if I'm describing this very well, but hopefully it'll be apparent once we start to use this. So whenever we call this, it's going to take wherever our current image file is, and then it's going to move it. So first we'll create a new path. And then we're going to give it a unique file name. So I'm going to say string unique file name. So we're going to create a method that will give us a unique file name. So let's jump and do that next. Before we get any further. I don't want to destroy the original file name. I want to keep that intact, but I want to put a guaranteed unique string in front of it. And since we'll only use this inside of our class, we can make it private. Okay. The logic here is basically we'll create a random number generator. That's how we're going to get the random piece. And we'll use secure random class to do that. And I'm going to call it RNG for random number generator. Now, basically what we're going to do here, we're going to loop until we have a unique file name. We'll have to create a method that can check our directory to make sure that new name is a unique name. But that's sort of the idea. We'll create a new string, a new name for our file, and then we'll check if that's unique in our images directory. If it is, great. Then we can stop looping. If it's not, then we start from scratch and we'll redo it again. So in here we'll say new name equals the empty string. Each time through this loop, we have to reset the string to be the empty. I'm going to generate 32 random characters. And the way I'm going to do this is I'll create a for loop. And use our random number generator to create a random number. And characters, just launch. So you might not be able to see that. So let me do it in Chrome. So if we look up our ASCII table, small. There we go. Okay, so what we can see is basically we want to look at, well, what are the valid characters that I'd be, comfortable with using in a file name? So certainly we have uppercase A through Z, and we have lowercase a through Z. We also have all the number ranges, 0 through 9. So if I were to generate a random decimal number, such as 48, that's a valid character. So what I'm going to do is I'll create a little method where we get a random number between, 0 and what does this work out to? 122, right? So some random number between 0 and 122. And then we'll check to see if it's one of these, either 0 through 9, uppercase A through Z, or lowercase a through Z. And if it is, then we'll add this to our new name string. We could shrink this number range, but I'm using 123 because basically in computers, they start counting from 0. So we have our highest value for z here is 122. So that's actually the 123rd possible outcome. And then we're going to need to create a little method that'll validate if we have a valid character here. So okay, so here we can say if, maybe let's call it this, the ASCII value, because that's just a little more clear. So if the ASCII value so 0 through 9 is basically the numbers 48 through 57. So what we're going to say here is if the number passed in is greater than or equal to 48 and less than or equal to 57, then it's got to be the numbers 0 through 9, in which case we can return true. Okay? We know it's in the valid range. Next valid range is uppercase A through Z. So if that's true, right? So if it's greater than 65 and less than or equal to 90, it's going to be the uppercase letter range, in which case it's also valid. And if it's A through Z, the range is going to be 97 to 122. Okay, so in my file system, I'm going to allow letters and numbers. There's a few other exceptions in there that we could use, but this will certainly give us plenty of combinations that we can use. And if none of those things are true, then we would return false. So what will happen is we'll keep picking a random number until we have a valid character. Okay? And then once we have a valid character, we're going to append this onto our new name that we're building. So to do that, I'm going to say new name. And here's what's really, really cool is because here I'm saying that but this is going to be a character we're passing in. So even though I'm passing in an integer, the string class will convert that into a char, right? Into a primitive data type of char. And so here's whatever the string was, and then we're going to add in our new character. And it'll keep doing this 32 times, right? So we're going to add 32 random letters and numbers in front of our new file name. And then once we have that, we're going to say the new name, whatever it was before, plus the old file name, which here. Okay. So we pass in the old file name. We're going to generate a random string of 32 characters in front of it. Okay. And that's how we can still find the old file name if we need to. And then what we need to do is, if at this point, if that's a unique name, if this new name is unique in our directory, we're done, basically. We've done a lot of what we need to do. So let's create this method called unique file in directory. Okay, so file class has many great utilities in it. So we'll check it. We'll say new file. We'll pass in where our images directory is. Okay. So now we can actually look in this directory, and we can actually get an array of the files inside the directory. So we'll get an array of file objects. Okay, so now in this array, I have a list of all the files. So what I can do is I can loop over that and check if any of those files have the same name as my file name. So I'm going to say for so there's our enhanced for loop. And we say if file get your name, if that equals file name, right? So if at any point they're the same, then we return false, right? It's not a unique file name. Oops, sorry. And if we can loop over all the files in the directory and none of them are exactly the same, well, then it is unique. So we return true. Okay, so now this get unique file name. We'll keep looping until we have a unique one. This new name, we now know it's unique, so we can just say return new name. Okay. So getting back to copying our image file, here we're going to first establish a path object. Then we're going to get a unique file name. Then we've got to move that file into that space, into that directory. So we're going to create a new path here. So path, target file, target path, sorry. Create a path. Here's where we're going to do the copy. Okay, so we basically have a path from the source where the file originally is residing right now, and then we're going to create a path to the target destination with a unique file name. And we know it to be unique, so I'm going to say replace the existing. And here we're going to throw in the exception for I/O, because anytime you read from the file system, you have the potential to that the file is not there, or something could go wrong, in which case maybe you don't have, I don't know, write permissions, something. So you could throw in I/O exception. Okay. So there we have it. We'll copy an image into the new folder with hopefully a unique name. So let's give this a test drive. So we'll go into our volunteer here. So now, let me zoom in. We can read this okay. So in the last video, we basically validated that we were able to add in a volunteer with the default image. So now if I want, I can also add one with a custom image. So in here, I can say, let me just go to a new line. New file. And I have one called Fred Flintstone PNG. Okay, save. Let me just make sure that that's, well, let's run and see what happens here. Maybe I have a spelling mistake, we'll check. Okay, it says our volunteer is Fred Flintstone, he's 17 years old. So now let's go look in this directory. If all went well, I should see the original image, but I should also see one with a unique file name. So let's take a look. Ooh, I don't have one here. Okay, so maybe, oh, it uploaded it, but let's take a look. Although we have a method, we never actually used it. So let's go up here to our constructor. So when we set the image file to not be the default person, then let's call our method copy image. Looks better. Try running this again. Okay, so that's still satisfied. And now when we go in here, what we see is here's our new file. Let's go to details. Right, so there's the original file that we uploaded, and here it is with its unique name. So you can see there's 32 characters in front of it, and then the file name is still appended at the end. So that's how when we get to the GUI, this is going to be a really handy utility that we can upload the file and store it onto our server with a guaranteed unique name. So that's it for this video. Thanks again for tuning in. In subsequent videos, we're going to show how we can now store this information in the database, and we'll be able to now pull from the database and instantiate objects from a persistent data source. Thank you.